What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the part 6 of a story where Issei was betrayed and became the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Also, this is a translate version, you may find some mistakes, specifically in the character's gender. Issei of course is a male, but this time we have a female volley, female dragon, female great red. Welp, with that out, let's get into part 6. Issei was now resting in the hot springs. After the talk with Tsunade, he decided to take a hot bath before the leader of the Aztecs came. Issei. This is really relaxing, I needed this, since the news about resurface became known, the factions have been bothering me, I haven't been able to have a break between them, Rias and the others and the Legion, but now being here I don't have to worry about them until let's go back, he said as he settled down and put a cool cloth on his eyes to enjoy the place a little. But he did not realize that some people discreetly entered the place where he was and approached him furtively. When they were close to him, one of them hugged him by the neck, exalting the brunette, while two others held his arms, and one leaned on him. His chest. Ruby. Don't worry Issei, it's just us. Issei. Ruby. What are you doing here? Yang. It's not just her honey, it's the rest of us too. Blake. We wanted to come and enjoy the hot springs too. Weiss. And by the way, have a little fun like Kateria, don't think we forgot that, you owe us. Before he could speak, Ruby raised her head and kissed him lustfully, while Yang and Blake used their hands. An hour later we can see Issei walking around the place until he saw a viewpoint with views of a mountain. Issei. It's a pretty quiet place. Then he notices a light in the middle of the mountain. What is that light? Then he approaches the balcony and with the help of his improved vision, he focuses his gaze on what caused the light, seeing 4 girls climbing the mountain, but then he sees that there was something stalking them closely, a creature that I didn't see before. I must go and save them. At that he jumps off the balcony and begins to run quickly towards the place. Meanwhile we can see Urza, Akame, Stella and Leforia climbing the mountain along the path there was. Stella. Urza, we shouldn't have gone in, the fence said, dangerous area. Urza. Don't worry, that's only for people who aren't hungry for adventure, we are different. Akame. I don't like this, I feel like something is watching us. He said, looking around. Leforia. We should go back now, I don't like this place. Urza. There are girls, don't be afraid, I don't think some creature will appear and attack us. At that point they hear something moving through the bushes of the place. They all got scared when they heard that, and they gathered around looking around when they saw that a black bear came out of some bushes that were in a bathroom and was growling when he saw the girls getting on 2 legs. When they saw the animal, they ran away after being followed down the hill. After a while, they thought they saw it lost, but then the bear appeared behind them, staring at them. They began to cry when they saw how it approached like that. Until they saw how the animal was suddenly scared, but their doubt disappeared as soon as they heard the following next to the being that appeared there. When they saw how the beast began to devour the bear, they slowly left there until, due to carelessness, they made a noise, drawing the attention of Magala, who stopped eating the bear's corpse. At that point, he approached them with the intention of eating them while they cried and asked for help, but before the Magala attacked them, an attack hit their face that made the Magala look at the person who caused it. Issei. Hey, underdeveloped lizard, come for me if you can. He said, launching another attack, hitting the beast squarely, making it like that. While Issei was dodging the Magala, the girls were surprised to see the brunette right there fighting that thing. In that they see how the brunette masterfully avoided the beast's attacks while he returned the attacks when he could. Issei. Damn, this thing is fast, I can't attack it with everything since it avoids them. In that case, it avoids a purple breath from the beast that melted the floor. I didn't expect that one, I must find some way to defeat it. At that point he jumps onto Malaga's head and starts hitting it with everything, causing him to go crazy and fly off with Issei on his back, starting to collide with the mountain trying to get Issei off his back. Issei. That was not a good idea. He said, holding onto the creature's neck. At that point, in an act of avoiding being thrown, he held onto the horns of the beast, beginning to direct it toward the ground, crashing into it. When the dust dissipated, Issei was seen a little bruised, while where the creature should be was empty. Issei receives a tail blow that sends him down the mountain, burying him. All this was seen by the 4 girls who were worried about Issei, but Malaga noticed his presence, beginning to prepare his breath to finish them, which was noticed by them starting to leave, but before they could flee, Malaga launched the attack, hitting an ice shield. The girls, seeing that nothing happened, looked up, seeing that they were in a dome that stopped Malaga's attack. Esdeath. You're okay ladies. Tsunade. Don't expect them to survive long against that thing. Akame. It was thanks to Issei-kun, but he couldn't dodge the tail of that thing, so he sent it flying. Tsunade. Don't worry, that won't kill him, he's stronger than you think. Urza. But. In that, Tsunade along with Esdeath reinforced the dome, avoiding the attacks launched by Malaga, who was very angry. Tsunade. Damn, it's very powerful, we won't be able to hold out much longer. In that moment, due to a blow from Malaga, the dome headquarters leaving the 6 women at the mercy of Malaga, then the other girls appear, guided by Kurama. They were about to intervene to save them, but then Issei appears, who was in his berserker mode. Issei. Well, now you made me angry. At that point he jumps up and begins to choke the creature in front of everyone. The beast, in an attempt to get out of the grip, throws itself on top of him, but Issei uses that to leave it against the floor, exerting more force, causing the beast to begin to lose strength, remaining still. Seeing that he was no longer moving, Issei released Malaga, who began to breathe heavily as a sign of still being alive, while Issei stepped on his body and gave a cry of victory. Everyone calmed down when they saw that Issei had defeated the creature, but then they heard a roar that shook them all, seeing that it came from the hill that was behind Issei, seeing an almost identical beast of a larger size. Issei seeing it, he got into a battle pose waiting for it to attack them, but the creature did nothing, it just stared at Issei. It stayed like that for a while until it jumped and fell in front of him. He didn't know what that thing would do, but he saw how the Malaga that was under his foot started to move, trying to get to the big one, so he moved away from it, watching how the big one lifted him on his back. Then he fixed his gaze on Issei, who was still alert to anything that happened, but he did not expect to see the eldest Megala give him a piece of his horn as a sign of respect, where when he gave it, he lowered his head as a sign of respect and flew away with the other on his back, leaving everyone surprised to see that thing show respect to the brunette. Issei. Well, that was strange and curious, he said, undoing his berserker mode, going towards the girls. They are all fine. Tsunade. Yes, Issei, we are fine, although the 4 of us fainted when we saw the big one. Sakvara. But what were those things, and why are they in the human world? Tsunade. I don't know much about them, only my lady knows. We must wait for her to come to find out what they were and what she did. Here. At that, everyone headed to the compound with the 4 fainted girls, but near the place we can see the chaotic Megala watching Issei leave from a hill and then turn around and return to its cave. Minutes later. Issei. How are they, will they wake up soon? Tsunade. Don't worry, the scare was so much that they became unconscious, but I already gave them first aid for the blows from when they were escaping, so there is nothing to worry about. Issei. I'm glad to hear it, but I was surprised to see them in that place. Esdeath. As we had done, that road was closed to the public because of these things, but I see that it didn't help to make them return. Issei. Kurama, do you have any idea what those things are and why the big guy gave me this? He said, showing the horn he gave him. Kurama. To be honest, this time I don't know anything about its species or race. It looked like a dragon, but it was different, it wasn't one of the ones I knew in my life. Issei. I don't think they're a very well-known species, but they said their leader knew what they were, so I guess they have a name, right? If they have it, they are known as Malaga when they are like the first one you faced, but with the second one it is known as Chaotic Megala, an evolution of the previous one, being much stronger and more lethal, in addition to being bigger and faster. Everyone saw the person who appeared. Tsunade. So you were watching, isn't it Quetzalcoatl, and you weren't even able to help us? She said, annoyed. Quetzalcoatl. Don't be mad, I wanted to see what our guest was capable of, but I didn't know that there would be an evolved class hanging around. Sharon. Sorry, but who are you? Alicia. Sharon, she is the goddess of wind and rain, as well as the world and humanity of Mesopotamia. Quetzalcoatl. Thank you for the introduction, dear, but leaving that aside, let's get to what we came for. Issei, we can talk about our alliance now that we can. Issei. Well, I suppose you know the reason why I agreed to come, no? Quetzalcoatl. Yes, Tsunade informed me when she was coming, and it is true that this union could benefit us. We need all possible allies if we want to win this approaching war, and the others are not trustworthy. Issei. I guess that makes it clear what we want, he said while extending his hand to accept the treaty. Quetzalcoatl does the same by shaking hands. Quetzalcoatl. Although tomorrow we will have to make the treaty in the room of the Aztecs in front of the other gods and one or another Mesopotamian faction more in agreement. Issei. Yes, this is just a simple cordial greeting of our intentions. After that small meeting we can see that the morning had arrived, and with it a new day. As always, our brunette was the first to get up from his room, without waking up Sakvara and Leisha, who had sneaked in at night, and it was like this where her classmates were still sleeping due to what happened yesterday. Issei leaves his room silently, so as not to wake her, and goes down to the dining room, and sees a letter from Tsunade, where she tells him that in an hour, Esdeath will come to pick them up for the meeting with the Aztec and Shinto faction. Later, Issei could be seen with Kurama, Sakvara, Leisha and Kateria leaving their rooms and saw Esdeath wearing a commander's clothing. Esdeath. Issei-sama, is it ready? I asked, looking at the aforementioned, who nodded so that a blue teleportation circle appeared taking them all. Everyone appeared at the entrance of the pyramid and entered, and everyone saw the runes and symbols of the Aztecs, marveling a little, where the four saw the doors of the room, and Esdeath knocked on the door where a pass was heard, where everyone entered seeing a round table, and Tsunade was sitting next. The Quetzalcoatl on one side and two other Aztec gods, and on the other side was another faction that did not agree on the banishment of Issei. These were the Japanese faction, which was a black-haired man accompanied by 4 people, 3 men and a woman. Quetzalcoatl. Good morning Issei, and before starting the treaty, let me introduce my 2 loyal gods who can help us in the war. These are them. Huitzilopochtli, god of war. Tanadia, god of the sun. Tanadia. Nice to meet you Issei-san. Huitzilopochtli. I also finally get to see the warrior who faced the Trahixa. Issei. It is my pleasure to meet the god of war and of the sun. He said bowing next to Sakvara, Hebit and Kateria. Issei. But I didn't expect to see you, Izanagi-sama, Amaterasu-sama, Susanoo-sama, and Tsukiyomi-sama. He said seriously, seeing the aforementioned, and Izanagi stood up from his seat and approached Issei, and everyone thought that they were going to fight. Quetzalcoatl was going to stop him, but everyone was surprised and even Issei, seeing how the divine god bowed in apology. But what no one expected was that Amaterasu, Susanoo and Tsukiyomi also did the same, leaving everyone surprised and somewhat confused. Izanagi. Young Issei, I apologize for what the foolish Yusaka and her daughter Kunu did. Amaterasu. We didn't know what happened after we found out what those scum of the alliance did to her. Susanoo. Sorry Issei-san, for not helping you that day, what you went through must have been hard. Tsukiyomi. Betrayed by everyone, and now they want him back for all the damage they did to him. The 4 gods said very sadly, something that confused Issei. Issei. Why do you apologize? That is the problem of that bitch and her bastard, so raise your heads because there is nothing to forgive. He said, confused by the sudden action of the 4 main gods of the Japanese faction. Kurama. You're an idiot or you're an idiot, being the faction with Yakuza they are responsible for that, and also being the faction that protects them. I explained so that everyone would understand why they were apologizing for the damage that Kitsune and her daughter did. Issei. I see, as I said, you don't have to apologize for what you did. I still have a question, who is the lady who accompanied you since she makes me unknown? He said, pointing at the purple-haired woman with violet eyes. Izanagi. This is my daughter Minamoto and her escorts Carmilla, Velvet, Semiramis, Mordred, and she will be the next to lead the Japanese faction, young Issei. He said so that the aforementioned one could walk like this or Issei. Minamoto. It's a pleasure to meet you in person Issei-sama. Issei. The pleasure is mine, beautiful lady of the light. He said, bowing, making Minamoto blush and making Quetzalcoatl, Tsunade, Esdeath, Carmilla, Velvet, Semiramis, Mordred jealous, but the ones who were not happy at all were Sakvara, Beat and Kateria, that released an aura of death to the brunette who was scared. And Kurama died laughing at the beating that they will give him. Quetzalcoatl. Well, we can start with the peace treaty. He said with jealousy, so that everyone will sit down to start the peace treaty. An hour later. An hour would pass where they talked about the attacks of the Infernal Legion, and that Issei explained to them about his almost kidnapping and death, since the truth was revealed where he joined with Barkras gaining more power. It should be said that everyone was surprised, except what they already knew. They were so surprised that the factions were thinking of changing him after everything he did, and he was willing to protect them and make a union with his hatred and anger. He had already fallen into hatred and revenge, and Minamoto knew all that without a doubt. Issei was a great guy, and the factions were very wrong to throw him away, where the Aztec promises to protect the Japanese territory, along with the protection of Issei's mates, and the Japanese does the same for the Aztec faction, and Issei's loved ones, and he himself will also give his protection of each piece of land, but to make the entire treaty it was. Issei. Was it necessary to do this? He said looking at Quetzalcoatl with a baton and an Aztec shield. But he looked at Issei with a very challenging smile. Well, the spectators were in the same room as they were sent to a pocket dimension, so that both of them fight without holding back. Minamoto. What? What is that aura that Quetzalcoatl releases? Said one in perplexity, seeing that with everyone, but 3 of them already knew what it was. Tanadia. That which Quetzalcoatl releases is called the Divine Core. He said very seriously alongside Huitzilopochtli and Tsunade, and before anyone could say what that was, Tsunade was the first to speak. Tsunade. Goddess Divine Core, X rank. An ability that expresses that the user is a perfect goddess from birth. It has the effect of preserving the absoluteness of the mind and body. It repels all mental interference, prevents the body from growing, and prevents the figure from changing, no matter how many calories are absorbed. It is a compound skill that comprises divinity. Although it is purely a split spirit, since it is not the case of possession by a human being, it reaches an X rank in this ability. In short, she is on par with Office, and it would be difficult to beat her, and could even leave her in a very serious state if she didn't win it. he said seriously, leaving everyone in shock at knowing such a monstrous ability. Issei. So we will go with everything, right, then I won't hold back. She smiled as he changed his eyes to others. They both threw themselves at each other again, but this time no one could follow them with their gaze. They could only see the sparks from the clashes of their weapons. Then they heard how they collided even harder, making their weapons fly into the sky where they grabbed their hands starting to put pressure on them, cracking the ground under their feet. At that, both of them let go, starting to hit each other with everything, making the place shake, when Quetzalcoatl hit the brunette's face which made him fall on his back, but not before giving him a kick in the back of the head, causing Quetzalcoatl to be thrown towards him. Temple embedded in it, they both stood up and looked at each other, going back to each other, starting an exchange of blows which Issei began to win, by giving more consecutive blows, overwhelming Quetzalcoatl who was smiling at the strength of Issei. Quetzalcoatl. This is very funny, I haven't fought like this in years, I like you Issei, you're the first man to surprise me like this. Issei. Well this isn't over yet. Suddenly he makes a sweep which lifts Quetzalcoatl off the ground, and before she could do anything he grabbed her foot and threw her into the sky, where he was waiting for her higher up, giving her a hammer blow which sends her crashing to the ground, but he did not stop there, but quickly went towards her preparing the final blow, where upon impact an explosion was generated that shook the entire place, cutting off the transmission. Tsunade. Quickly we have to see how the meeting ended. Kurama. Why the rush, if they can't die in there? Tsunade. Because if what I think happened then she will do it right there. Both Tanadia and Huitzilopochtli trembled at the thought of what she would do if she were like this. Everyone got together to teleport to the dimension. Meanwhile Issei approached Quetzalcoatl to see how he was doing, but when the dust began to go away a hand grabbed him by the collar of his shirt and pulled him down. Just at that moment everyone arrived to seeing how the dust went away, showing Quetzalcoatl with destroyed clothes kissing a confused Issei. The faces of his friends and their mates were consecutively one of astonishment and jealousy. Tsunade. We're late, it's already started, he said while rubbing his hair. Quetzalcoatl suddenly wrapped her legs around Issei's hips, which made him lose control and fall from sitting on the floor, while she continued kissing her, increasing the intensity. His girls were very upset about it until. Tsunade. Quetzalcoatl, enough, then you can continue, now you should explain to everyone the reason why you are doing this. She said seriously. Quetzalcoatl stopped from giving Issei a tonsil cleaning and looked at everyone. Quetzalcoatl. You are a party pooper Tsunade, I was just hanging out with my future husband, he said smiling at her. Tsunade. Well, your current mates are eager to show you what will happen if you don't tell the reason for doing that, she said with a tick as he pointed at Issei's women who were upset. Quetzalcoatl. I wouldn't like to see them try something against me, I like challenges, he said as he prepared to fight again like Sakura and the others. They were all about to kill each other for Issei when they see that Amaterasu stands between them, avoiding a bloodbath. Amaterasu. Calm down everyone, Quetzalcoatl explains the reason for your previous action with Issei. Quetzalcoatl. Everyone is a spoilsport, well the thing is like that whenever our mythology makes an alliance the best warriors fight among themselves to see who has the best soldier in their ranks, so since I am the strongest and Issei is the best power he has, we decided that I would face him to see who is the best between the two. Minamoto. But that doesn't explain the kiss you gave him after he beat you. Quetzalcoatl. Dear, that has a lot to do with it, and even more so if it's about me. Sakura was thinking about the reason for those words when she remembered a certain issue with arranged marriages and the fact that they could be cancelled with a certain case. Sakura. Wait, that means that since Issei defeated you, he is now committed to you by the laws of your faction, she said a little afraid of the answer. Esdeath. Something like that, it is not because of an ancient law of our mythology, but because she herself stipulated that if a man defeated her at her maximum power, she would marry him at that moment. Quetzalcoatl. As my friend says, I set that condition for myself, if a man defeated me in a fight I would automatically consider him my fiancé, since I only accept strong men as my mate. Leisha. Wait, that means that now Issei became your husband. Kateria. Yes, no, it will be over my corpse, he said standing in front of Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl. Hey, do you think you can stop my little demon? He said, smiling macabrely. Sakura. Kateria, stop, I already knew that this fight had another issue when she was happy and her friends were serious about it, but there is nothing to do then at home, we will see what we do with this little trick, now we must finalize the treaty. Everyone was upset, but it was true now it was more important to finalize the alliance between the three groups. Tsunade. And how about as a sign of unity we have a small party at my vacation compound with hot springs? Mordred. I like that idea, it's been a long time since I've had a break from my duties. Velvet. You just want to drink until you get drunk Mordred. Carmilla. He has been on guard for a long time, we could use this rest now that we are united in alliance. Issei. Yes, it's a good idea. It's been a long time since I've tasted some good wine, and what better way to do it than for our treaty. Everyone agreed, so they headed to the venue with Issei's other couples and their companions, where everyone tried their best wines and liquors. Quetzalcoatl. Let's toast this majestic union, cheers. But what no one expected to happen that night would leave many surprises the next morning and will make Issei learn a life lesson. Never drink too much when you are with many beautiful women eager for action at a hot springs resort. Everyone was enjoying the party while they were at the drinks bar, some were playing tag, others were talking to each other, and our brunette was with his girls and the others talking passionately about themselves. Some time later Issei decided that he should go rest for the night. Would he retire to his room, although he did not realize that some women were looking at him in a predatory way. When he lay down on his bed he closed his eyes, falling asleep completely due to how drunk he was at that moment. But what he did not expect is that as soon as he fell asleep, a group of girls sneaked into his room very stealthily and approached him. Well, the curtain of the room moved due to the wind letting in the moonlight, showing Quetzalcoatl, Tsunade, Esdeath and Minamoto, who could be seen not being completely in their right mind due to how drunk they were. Esdeath. She can't wait to have him inside like those 4 girls from before. He did it to her like she was a thirsty beast, and I want to feel that passion. She said very excitedly while she undressed slowly and sensually. Tsunade. Haha, look who became a pervert. I didn't expect you to spy on people in the bathroom, and even less when they do those things. But this is not the time for that. Now we have a matter to deal with him and his big piece of throbbing meat that he has between the sheets. I feel strange writing this, but it is to give more flavor to the reading, so appreciate it. Minamoto. Both stop thinking that, soon we will be able to enjoy it like never before with him. She said, undressing, followed by Tsunade. Wade and Quetzalcoatl. At that point, the 3 of them look around looking for her when they hear the sound of a lick, followed by someone who was choking and making obscene noises, as if he were trying to swallow something big in his mouth. They all fixed their gaze on the bed where Issei was, watching how the sheet was bulging in the lower part of the brunette's waist, which made descending and ascending movements in sync. While the brunette gasped for that, Tsunade went and uncovered the brunette, showing that he was naked, and a Quetzalcoatl who was giving the brunette an oral. While she enjoyed how his similar piece of meat left her breathless every time she put it in her mouth, and gave him a deep throat, which annoyed and blushed the 3 girls who saw her. At that point, she stopped doing that and told them. Looks with a pleased face. Tsunade. Quetzalcoatl, what the hell are you doing? Quetzalcoatl. Well, what else am I giving a taste to this bar of meat that I have in front of me? He said, giving it a lick from the base to the tip where he gave it a kiss. Minamoto. That's a little taste, rather you cleaned it deeply with your throat. She said, eager to do the same. Quetzalcoatl. Haha, for me it was just a taste. It is the first time that I am in front of a man who is stronger than me and is not some species different from humans or gods, so it is obvious that I would be very interested in him from the beginning. Today's battle. Tsunade. Well, you should control yourself a little, don't you think so? Remember that even though he is your fiancé, he has many more mates besides you. Quetzalcoatl. I know, but remember that I'm a bit of a fighter. When something interests me, I won't let anyone beat me, not even when it comes to him. And where is Esdeath? She hasn't spoken in a while. She said while she was standing next to him. The bed showing that she was naked. They were all watching when they positioned their gaze on the brunette's bed, seeing how she was on top of him. While she subtly kissed the brunette, Issei was already about to fall asleep, but Tsunade approaches him stealthily and grabs his member a little roughly. Tsunade. Don't forget about me, Issei. I was waiting for my turn a few hours ago. She said, totally lost in lust. Time skip. The next morning everyone woke up even though they were barely well because the hangover was medium strong. Sikvara. It was a very quiet night, I hardly felt any noise. She said while she was having coffee sitting in the living room armchair. Leisha. Yes, plus Issei's classmates haven't woken up yet, right? Chisato. They are not even unconscious because of that, they will wake up between the afternoon and the night. Sharon. Talking about waking up where everyone else is. Mordred. Even if I'm still sleeping, I'll go see my lady how she is. She said, going to look for Miyamoto. Amaterasu. Well, it was to be expected that they would not wake up yet. She, along with Tsunade, Quetzalcoatl and Esdeath, were the ones who drank the most last night. Tanadia. Hahaha, they can't even hold 15 rounds of liquor. Susanoo. The god says that he is not affected by alcohol when the sun rises. With the help of it everyone can get up easily, don't you think? Carmilla. Don't you think Mordred is taking so long to wake up Mrs. Miyamoto? Velvet. Surely she fell asleep in a room other than yours. Izanagi. I get his mother's drinking style. He said as he held his head. Huitzilipachli. As South Americans say, she is beautiful, but she sucks like a newly paid bricklayer, hahaha. That made the men present there laugh. Karama. Now that I think about it, what kind of liquor was last night? It seemed familiar to me. Huitzilipachli. It was an ancient one that could easily knock out the gods. As it was a celebration, I decided to bring it to light. It is capable of bringing out the deepest desires of those who drink it. Kurama. Oh, that sounds interesting. Wait, did you say the deepest desires? He said, scared Huitzilopochtli. Yes, why? Confused. Kurama. This is going to get ugly. At that, everyone hears Mordred shout at the top where everyone went to see the reason for that, encountering a scene that would leave the men, some proud, others scared, and one surprised, while the majority of the women were angry, releasing an aura. Dark which terrified the men and a very blushing Amaterasu. There were Issei, Tsunade, Esdeath, Miyamoto and Quetzalcoatl all naked in what was left of the bed while the four of them hugged the brunette, burying his face between her breasts, while he was sleeping peacefully between those soft and sweet mountains that any man would want. Kurama. I assumed this would happen by drinking the liquor. He said, exhausted from having to explain the reason for that. Minutes after the scene they saw, they were all in the compound room along with Issei's classmates who woke up from the screams. You could see the women sitting in the front while the men were on the opposite side sweating because of the way they were seeing Issei, Kurama and Huitzilopochtli sitting in the middle of the room while kneeling, and the four involved next to them. Sikvera. Let's see Kurama, tell us what you meant when you stopped us from talking to Issei because of what he did. Kurama. Yes, what I said is that it was not his fault, but Huitzilopochtli's for giving us the alcohol last night. He pointed to the aforementioned. Huitzilopochtli. Wait, what? Don't throw your dirty lags on me if I have nothing to do with it, vermit. At that, both of them began to argue until Sikvera put pressure, cracking the floor, attracting both of their attention, and making Issei begin to sweat for his fate. Sikvera. Tell me why you say that, Kurama, or you will join Issei in the discussion we will have. Kurama. Okay, let's not start making threats. What I meant is that the alcohol he gave us is a special one that makes semi-beasts like Issei and I fall into a state similar to heat while we are not conscious, but to reach the extremes of doing it with someone, there must be a previous stimulus before that, because if nothing happens, we should have just stayed completely exhausted in bed and slept like a rock, so surely there was some previous incitement for that to happen. Kurama. He was serious, it's not a joke, and they verified it with me when I fainted, and you took me to the couch, remember? Sikvera. Let's say I believe you, then how did they come to that if there wasn't some incentive on the part of? At that, Three-La turns her gaze with a gloomy smile at the four girls, making three of them sweat, while another was smiling. Ladies, perhaps you have something to say about this matter. Quetzalcoatl. The squirrel is right. A hey was heard. The four of us went to his room after the party to have a good time, which was even better than expected. I didn't consider that he would be very rude and passionate when doing it to me. But that was not him when his gaze changed to that of a beast when we began the act. Tsunade. Wait, you were conscious at that moment, why didn't you have us then? She said, angry at hearing that. Quetzalcoatl. Don't be dramatic, you also enjoyed it until I remember that you asked for more, like the others, but leaving that aside, now we must talk about our commitments to Issei. Silence is what predominated in the room, until suddenly everyone heard a loud crash, seeing Izanagi lying on the floor passed out while babbling that his daughter had grown up and would leave his side. Things became very funny. Issei and the boys said that they will never drink like that again, while Ren and John were blushing, while Nora and Pura were happy as they caressed their cheeks, remembering what they did last night, which was noticed by Issei and Kurama. On the other hand, Minamoto was being bothered by his guards, due to his little nocturnal adventure with Issei. Wow, miss, we didn't know it was straight for dessert, haha. A little further away from them, Amaterasu and Susanoo could be seen trying to get up at Izanagi without any result, but the funniest thing is the fact that both Issei's girls and Tsunade were chasing Quetzalcoatl, who was very energetic despite the state of her hip. Issei. Well, I guess it turned out better than I expected. At that point, a communication circle appeared in his ear. Who is it? He said seriously, thinking that it was one of his exes. Rinias. Hey, because that tone, if it's just me, Rinias, I come to tell you that the trial is today, in a few hours, I will pick you up at your house to take you to the place, so see you later, bye bye. Issei. Well, at least I can make them stop fighting for a while. Sikvera, Leisha and Roygun, come, we have to go home. Sikvera. Because Issei, don't you see that we are busy? Issei. If I see it, then I will have to go to the Gremory trial only then. He said, turning to leave. Roygun. Why didn't you say it before? Let's go home, we have to prepare before it starts. Issei. I knew it would work. 4 hours later, Issei, Leisha, Sikvera and Roygun could be seen dressed waiting in the living room for Rinias. Leisha. Hey Issei, Miss Rinias said she would come, right? Issei. Yes, he told me that he would come look for us here. Why? Leisha. And it didn't seem strange to you that I knew where you live, perhaps? Roygun. You should pay more attention to things. Issei. In the middle of them, Rinias comes out of his circle smiling. Rinias. Hello, I'm here, you're ready. Issei. Hey Rinias, how did you know where I live? Rinias. Ito, let's say that for the transfer of clan leadership certain requirements are required and one includes you Issei, so I found out where you live if you don't mind haha. Sikvera. And what requirements are included if you can know? She said somewhat distrustfully. Rinias. Well the thing with him is that. In order for me to take command of the clan I need to be in a relationship with someone. Leisha. Aha, and what does Issei have to do with that? She said, beginning to emanate a dark aura like the other two. Rinias. Haha, it's funny that you mention that. Roigun. Say it once, what does that have to do with it, Issei? Rinias. The thing is that I must commit myself to him if I want to obtain command of the clan and be able to prosecute my family, that is why I asked for them to accompany me, since I want him to be my fiancé, and the clan council allowed it. Everything was silent as Issei turned pale at that, but his three girls were not happy to hear that. Rinias. I know that you are with him and there is more besides that's why I want you to let me be with him and you, please, I know that I should have told you before, but I didn't know how to say it, so please let me be with him. He said lowering his head. A while after Sikvera and the others thought about it, they said their decision. Sikvera. Well, we accept that you join us to be with Issei, although your words were sincere you should have seen it raised before, so for the moment you will only be committed to him until we see if you are good for him, so consider yourself in a trial period for now. Rinias. Thank you for allowing me to be with him despite what my predecessors did to him. Issei. Well, leaving aside that and the surprise, shouldn't we be at the meeting already? Rinias. True, I forgot the trial was in a while, let's hurry up. After the talk of Rinias and that Sikvaria, Leisha and Roigun accepted the request, everyone headed to the place, arriving at an immense mansion where they entered a kind of court, but Issei saw that they were Rias with his entourage, Serzichas, Zeoticus, Venelana, Graphia, but also Sona with her entourage, Seraphol, Lady and Lord Citrus, Ravel and Razor without her entourage, and also Lady and Lord Phoenix, Miss Law with Seraerg also without her entourage. Rias, Asia, Akeno, Kaneko, Zenobia, Roswise and the patriarchs looked at Issei who gave the brunette a smile, but that changed to a very sick hatred when she saw Sikvaria beat and Roigun being next to her supposedly her Issei, but Rinias speak. Rinias. Before starting the meeting we have to wait for a few more people. She said seriously, but someone spoke. Razor. Who will they be? I doubt that people are at our heights. She said with a slightly arrogant tone, but she would shut up at the sound of a voice that the Phoenix patriarchs would tense up upon hearing. After your defeat against the former Sekirute, you still have that arrogance of yours. He said a voice so that Issei turned around seeing a man with slightly dark blonde hair, blue eyes, a mask that he had on the side of his head, white clothing up to his pants with black touches. He was next to a woman with waist-length blonde hair with a good body, wearing a black dress with red sleeves and details of silver and gold lines, both looking at them with a look of dismay that terrified the Phoenixes. But more to Lady Phoenix. Lady Phoenix. Otu-san. Oka-san she screamed, very terrified, seeing her parents who were looking at them with great disappointment, and she hated it, surprising the brunette by not knowing about them, and before she could figure out why they were here. Sikvaria Leisha Roigun. Grandparents. They shout a little surprised, so that the brunette turned around to see three groups of couples. My dear granddaughter, you are not going to introduce us to your husband. Say a woman with blonde hair, wearing a nun's outfit, but showing her legs, wearing white gloves and glasses. Yes, I also want to meet him. Say a woman with dark blue hair, blue eyes, wearing ancient Japanese-style clothes, her body was not as good as it looked, but she made up for it with her waist, hips and round butt, also having two horns as well. Yes, everyone already knows him as the exiled one, without offending you, young Issei. Say politely to a woman with waist-length black hair, black eyes, having two horns facing forward, wearing Japanese clothes, and showing a little of her breasts and some tattoos on her shoulders and forehead. Sikvaria. Sorry grandmother, Issei-kun, they are my grandparents, the woman dressed as a nun is Gyla Grips, my mother's mother, and the lord is my grandfather Rimuri Grips. She said politely, presenting a young man with green hair, blue eyes with green touches, he was wearing a white suit with green and gold touches and a gold necklace. It beat. Issei-kun, these are my grandparents, the blue-haired woman with the horn behind her is called Ganyu Astareth, and the man who is with her is my grandfather, Zion Astareth. She said politely introducing a young man with black hair, yellow eyes, with half of his face wearing a mask, black and gold, also wearing ancient Japanese clothing. Roigun. Ito, Issei-kun, these are my grandparents, the woman who is reading a book is called Kyoka Belphegor, and the man in a doctor's coat is my grandfather, Saemon Belphegor. He said with a little nervousness at the look of his grandfather, who was a young boy with pink hair, black eyes, wearing a doctor's outfit, two black fingerless gloves, also having a cigarette in his mouth. Issei. The pleasure is meeting my loved ones as grandparents. She said formally and also bowing, bringing a smile to the former patriarchs, and the men just said. Rimuri Zion Saemon. Make her happy or else you won't end up in one piece. They said with a serious face, scaring the brunette a little, so that they went to some seats with the symbols of the houses of Grips, Astaroth and Belphegor, and the women went to their husbands. Issei. Si-chan, they are the Akatori's grandparents. He whispered to his girlfriend and pointed at the two blondes. Sikvaria. Yes, the blonde woman is called Samantha Phoenix, and the man is Flame Phoenix, the parents of Lady Phoenix and the Akatori. She said it in a whisper, so that the brunette nodded his head. But everyone felt a very powerful aura, scaring Issei, Sikvaria, Laisha, Roygun, but even more so the Grimoires, Citrus and Bale when they recognized them. Just then the door would open suddenly, and everyone would turn around seeing a man with long deep blue hair, blue eyes, wearing blue clothing with several white parts, white pants, and blue shoes. He was accompanied by a woman with strong blue hair, dark blue eyes, wearing a blue dress the same color as her hair reaching to her waist, and white heels. After he will enter and both will look at the Citrus with very cold eyes, scaring them, but more so at Lady Citri. Then another couple would also enter, a young man with dark brown hair, a thin ponytail, yellow eyes, wearing very elegant clothes like a butler. Next to him also came a young woman with short dark purple hair with several brown strands, hazel eyes, also wearing a maid's clothing. They would look at Miss Law with a face of disgrace and disgust that made Lady Bale very sad, and Sererg would not say anything, because he knew that this would come. And finally a young man with red hair with a thin ponytail, red eyes, wearing a butler's but very elegant clothes would enter. He was also accompanied by a woman with short black hair, completely red eyes, she was wearing a black trench coat, her arms had a black cross, she also wore black shorts along with black soldier's boots, but she also had a scar on his lip. They looked at the Grimoires with such a cold, sharp look and hatred for all of them that they tensed too much. Issei wanted to ask who they were, but Runias spoke. Runias. I'm glad you've arrived, son Citri, Linus Citri, Tigrex Bale, Seru Bale, but I'm glad you're here, Otu-san and Oka-san. She would say with a smile, surprising Issei that the red-haired and black-haired man are her parents. The patriarchs went to their seats, and Runia's parents sat next to her daughter, and Runias introduced Issei. Runias. Issei-kun, they are my father, the man's name is Soren Grimoire, and the woman's name is Roha Grimoire. He said with a smile that the brunette only greeted the former Grimoires with a very nervous smile, both of whom nodded their heads. At that, some circles will appear above the ancient patriarchs, making the entire underworld see it. The atmosphere became very tense and heavy, making the traders very scared and in a cold sweat. Until someone stood up from his seat and said the word. Soren. So as not to drag things out. Zeodicus, Benelana, Serziches, Graphia and Rias along with their entourage are completely banished from the Grimoire clan as it is forbidden to set foot on any land. He would say it sharply and without even a hint of mercy, leaving those mentioned in stone. Son. For my part, Lady Citri, Lord Citri, Serafol Citri and Zona along with his entourage are also banished from the Citri clan and are prohibited from setting foot in the Citri hospital like our lands. She said in an emotionless tone, also leaving them in stone, but the one who was most broken was the Sona of already being banished. That means that she would no longer be able to do her school, which was her dream, and for her decision she is paying dearly. Flame. For my part, I banish Lady Phoenix, Lord Phoenix and Ravel Phoenix, I banish them from the Phoenix house and will never set foot on our lands, except for Razor with his entourage, but he will go down to middle class. She said seriously and hated at the same time, leaving Ravel and Lord Phoenix devastated by no longer being able to step on her land, but Lady Phoenix even more so by being banished by her own parents. Tigrex. I will only say this, Miss La Bale do not set foot on the Bale lands again, except for Sererg with his entourage. She said seriously, leaving herself horrified to know that her own father and mother turned their backs on her. Rimuri. For my part, I will not let these scums step on my lands that will be prohibited for you. She said seriously pointing at the accused. Xion. I am also prohibited from entering Astaroth territory. She said very seriously. Saman. I'm the same, they are prohibited from entering Belphegor territory. He said she very seriously. But the next thing they heard would leave Issei's ex-harem with his ex-lovers even more broken. Soren. And also say that the care of my descendant Milica's Grimoire, who will pass on my daughter Runias as her fiancé who is the young Issei. He said seriously that everyone in the underworld will be in total shock, but more so to the Grimoires and Issei's ex-harem. Issei's ex-harem and ex-lovers, who looked at the brunette to say it was a lie, but they didn't expect what he would say. Issei. It's true, my commitment to Runia's Grimoire is official, also with the permission of my girls. He said calmly and with Sikvaria's affirmation and beat, but three people shouted out of anger. Zeodicus. No, no, no. I will not accept that woman stealer. He screamed with the purest anger at the brunette. Lord X Citri. That bastard has to pay. He also screamed with hatred for Issei. Lord X Phoenix. They can't take away our positions just because of that bastard. He also screamed with hatred, releasing his aura of fire, Lord Exitri a blue aura, and Zeoticus his aura of destruction. But the three were sent flying and colliding with the wall, and everyone saw the person responsible, who were the ancient patriarchs who released their auras that scared the exiles and also Issei and his girls. Flame. You guys close your mouth, just a little bit of our power will send you flying. How pathetic you are, she said angrily, releasing golden flames forming a golden phoenix. Son. In addition to resuming the leadership of patriarchs of the Citrus, Phoenix and Bale clans. He said angrily, also releasing a navy blue aura and several heads of the Leviathan appearing. Surziches. He cannot lead the Gremory clan, he can lose consciousness due to being carried away by his emotions. Sauron. It's true. She said with her eyes closed, bringing out a smile for the banished. But you guys can't handle it either, after those bitches broke down mentally knowing they slept with Rizavam. He said with an empty tone and raising a black aura. In addition to knowing that dragon attacked my brother-in-law's couples, without thinking about the consequences and her mental state. Increasing her dark aura with red touches. And see how they attacked him for supposedly stealing his wives, who forgot to give them affection and not be so busy at their jobs, and look what happened. They sleep with a bastard who harmed our clan, already disgraced our family, they scream, suddenly releasing their aura that a demon would emerge above him, that smiled madly showing its sharp teeth, scaring the entire supernatural world and the traitors, except the ancient patriarchs, his wife, his daughter, like Issei and his girlfriends. Tigrex. They have 24 hours to pick up their things and go wherever they want, they no longer have the support of any underworld clan. He said coldly, but the wives of the now patriarchs, the traitors came down like this, but they looked at their daughters and without anyone expecting them. Ladies Exitri Phoenix Miss Laria's mother great-grandmother, they said in shock for receiving that jacket. Samantha. You disappointed me very much, how could you do this, I don't recognize you as my daughter, what did I do wrong, I raised you how you should be a good woman, next to that bastard that I don't want to say his damn name, now I don't have any daughter. She say with a sharp look, but the last thing, she would shout it with tears coming out of her eyes, and she was hugged by her husband and began to cry to take her away from Lady X Phoenix, who fell on her knees and crying hard and being hugged by Ravel, who was also crying. Lina. I can't believe I believed a damn bitch, where was my little girl at that time, she was just a bitch who went to sleep with a bastard and was even more married, on top of that those bitches also followed your same steps to sleep with any man looking for a dick and being fucked like any other. I no longer have any daughter, to me you are dead, they say it with the coldest tone, but the last thing with tears coming out of her eyes, who was also hugged by her husband and took her away from Lady Exitri, who also fell from knees and crying loudly and being comforted by Sona and Seraphil, who were also crying in pain. Seryu. When you fell into a deep sleep, you don't know how much I cried when I saw you in that state. But now I regret that you will wake up and go to bed like a bitch, she said with a darkened look, but at last he raised it to see her with a face without emotion, and he walked away from me, who only lowered his head, but began to blurt out several tears. Roha. Since I saw you born, you knew that I would be a damn spoiled person, and of course because of your fucking mother, I always knew that she was a bad influence on you like the bastard I have as a grandson, from some random one you inherited it from this damn one. I never recognized you as my descendant just like that Siskin, I would have preferred that you had never been born, you only bring pain to those you care about, now you will be left completely alone, and you lost a good man, I would say it with a cold and dead tone, only to slap him again, knocking Riaz to the floor, and he approached Zeoticus to kick him in the face and get him away from them, where no one was saying anything, Riaz, Venelana and Grafia were more mentally broken, and for the last thing they said that they will be alone, that was repeated in their broken minds, along with the Gremories and Citrus females. Renias. Guards, get this scum out of my sight now. She would say in the tone of her mother, so cold and emotionless, and the guards would take them away to get the things out of her. Moments after the meeting we can see Issei in Tsunade's compound, with the others sitting telling the others everything that happened at the meeting. Aika. Hahaha, finally someone from those families was outraged to take a hard line. Rumi. So each of them and their parents were somehow banished from their families by their grandparents, don't expect things to turn out that way, the truth. Sakura. In fact, I think we all think the same. Rumi, I didn't expect that the former heads of families would do something like that to their progeny. Kateria. What they did is the most logical thing, given the situation they experienced with Rizavam and the things they did, they would not let the honor and status they cared for be ruined by some simple women who wanted to be with him, furthermore, they always respected the old regime that we had before, so being unfaithful or cheating on your fiancé was seen as taboo for them. Issei. Although I didn't think that for them to do that I would have to commit myself to Renias, I say I know that she wanted to fix what her family did to me, but that to do so I have to mate with her, I see it as very absurd. Sakara. In fact, it was an excuse that Issei made. Issei. Wait, what? Leisha. It is true that she needs to be engaged to someone to take the leadership of the clan, but it did not necessarily have to be with you. Issei. Well, we are, he is using me. Sekvara. No, Issei, that doesn't seem to be the case. Kateria. Let me explain, Issei, we demons who are well behaved usually have the freedom to choose our fiancé, as in my case, and in that of Runia's. Issei. How is that? Kateria. Ancient demons like her and I were respected for our strength and talent, so we had the privilege of choosing our mate without the council intervening in it. That's why I never settled with someone until I met you, where my heart chose you as its owner, and with Runia's it was the same. Apparently she chose you as her mate due to some trait of yours that attracted her. Issei. But we had never met before, how could he have fallen in love with me? Sekvara. This is because every member who is about to join a family usually collects information which is received by the previous leaders, where they see what the status of the person who is about to join the clan is like. When you were engaged to Riaza, your file was sent to them to see what you were like, as was every video of your actions and achievements, so they must know you well enough to fall in love with you. Issei. Your race is very complicated when it comes to sitting on your head. Kurama. Maybe that's why I never got together. Those things are always very complicated, and if I were to do it, I would have to always be taking care of myself, and I wouldn't be able to be free anymore. Smith. I don't understand how Issei could improve his strength with you if that is your ideology about couples. Kurama. That has nothing to do with one another. Issei. But to think that information about me was circulating without my realizing it through the hands of people I didn't know is undoubtedly disturbing. Sekvara. Don't worry, Issei, that happens on the first day where the engagement is decided. In our case, it was the day you saved me from that wedding with Rizavam. Issei. But that day I hid my identity. Sekvara. Remember that was only because of those present, but my grandmother always knew about my feelings for you, so she gave me the approval to be able to speak. Issei. You weren't prepared for that. Leisha. Leaving that aside, Issei, can I ask you something a little uncomfortable? Issei. Yes, it happens. Leisha. Before, during the fight you had with the council when Riaz and the others appeared, you said that you were suffering from a trauma that you didn't know about. What was that trauma? Issei remained serious at that question, which made the people stiff until someone tried to calm the situation. Jer. Issei, please tell us. I know you don't want to remember it, but we need to know what you went through when they did that. Yes. Issei sighed and softened his face, giving a sad smile. Issei. Well, I'll tell you, but you should pay attention and not interrupt me. Yes. They all nodded. Well, before I was one of Ria's pieces, I was a common boy who wanted to be in a relationship with a woman. One day suddenly a girl proposed to me when she was on the bridge in the park. To be honest, I thought it was some joke or something like that, but when I saw her I fell into her arms. I had been fascinated by her appearance and figure, so I agreed to go out with them. Her name was Yuma. On the day of our first date, we were both having a great time until when we were about to say goodbye at the fountain something happened. I was pierced by a spear of light. Know who it was that attacked you? Issei. Well, it was no one more nor less than Yuma. Everyone was surprised. Or should I say Rainer. Yuma was a fallen angel whose name was Rainer. In truth, she was following me because she felt traces of a sacred gear in me, so she saw that I was a threat to her plans with Kakabiel, so she pretended. Being in love with me to murder me. When she left me there in the fountain bleeding in the last moment of life, I saw her as saving me, where I became her pawn. Over time I fell in love with her and the other girls at the club where we started a relationship, but whenever I wanted to move forward I couldn't. Something in me prevented me from moving forward with more than simple kisses or caresses. Apparently what Rainer did to me not only hurt me sentimentally, but also psychologically. He had left me. But the trauma that I didn't know about, I had the latent fear that if I let go of them, they would separate me from their side, so I couldn't move forward with them. But since they banished me, that trauma got worse, making me afraid to be with a woman. Alicia. But if you had that trauma, how could you be with Sekvara at that moment? It's more like they could give themselves in body if you still had that fear inside you. Kurama. That's easy to know. That day I remember that the one who started inciting that moment was Sekvara. His trauma may prevent him from moving forward with her, but things are different when the girl is the one who moves forward. That day Sekvara had advanced enough for Issei's mind to say that she gave him confirmation, and that he could do that with her, so he was able to overcome the trauma he had. But it was not only that, but this was complemented due to some training he had when he met me, where he learned to control and balance that fear of being rejected. So with what Sekvara did, both things helped Issei overcome the trauma he had. They were all surprised by what the two were saying, so they looked at Issei, who was calm watching them all. Issei. You don't have to worry, now I'm cured of that trauma, so I don't need your help. It's more thanks to that I was able to meet all of you. You are the most precious thing I have in my world. You are the only thing that makes me stay in the light, and what allowed me not to give in to what they said about me. That's why I love you girls, so you could accept this scared fool who wants everyone to be happy by his side. They all went to him and hugged him together where they showed how much they love Issei. But they didn't realize that Urza, Akame, Leforia and Stella were behind a wall, listening to everything Issei experienced, so they were crying, knowing what she suffered for the wrong girls. In the underworld, the leaders were gathered to talk about the recent events that have currently occurred. Michael. This is bad, the Legion started moving again, they are attacking the bases that we have scattered, and we still don't know what they are up to. Ajuka. And we are still not fully prepared, the DXD group is still not ready for their re-entry, and more so because of what happened recently with their families, they were totally out of it because of it. Azazel. Ha, we just have problems after problems, we are bad and all because of our past decisions. Auden. This is not the time to lament, we must prepare for what happens now and protect our people. Tannen. It is easy to say that but not do it, our troops are without morale because of what happened with Rizavam, and our forces declined because of that, so we cannot defend ourselves, and more than that Issei eliminated his council and Shiva. Zeus. I can't believe that the demons let him do that to his faction, in fact he even left Surziches and his father injured all because he didn't want to return to them. Michael. Zeus-sama, that was because the council forced him to accept that he rejoin their ranks and accept marriage proposals. Falbium. Ha, those old men knew that after what we did to him, he would not accept that just like that, but not happy with it they even threatened to use his maid against him, so he only defended her, although his way of doing it was quite strong, so it wasn't his fault that he reacted like that. Zeus. That doesn't justify anything, Surziches was right that all this is his fault, but because of him most of our women will deceive us with that Rizavam garbage, if he hadn't fallen in love with them, they wouldn't have fallen before him like that. Azazel. That has nothing to do with that, they decided to do that because they wanted to do it, Issei had nothing to do with that, it's more that he never saw anyone other than his women, so it's not his fault that your women they made that mistake with Rizavam. Zeus. You think my wife would cheat on me just like that, it's obvious that Issei had to do with it. Auden. Calm down Zeus, this is not the time to be fighting about that, we must concentrate on what is happening now, and then we will see who is guilty of what. At that Zeus calms down and sits down, although suddenly Surziches enters the room, which surprised everyone. Surziches. Good afternoon gentlemen, I need your help for something I have planned. Azazel. What do you want to do now Surziches, don't tell me it has to do with your family. Surziches. It's partly that, but I also found a way to make Issei give us his strength and make him pay for everything he did to us. Michael. You better stop. Surziches, remember what he did to you and your father besides Shiva, he will not hesitate to finish you if necessary, he is not the same as before. Surziches. I will not let that bastard stain my name anymore with that of my family, so I will recover the honor that we lost because of him, and we will control our clan again, and I will take revenge for everything he did to me and our people. Ajuka. Surziches, stop, you are not thinking clearly, I already told you that he is not to blame for what happened to you, your wife, sister and mother, all of that happened because of the decisions they made. Surziches just didn't pay attention to him and saw Zeus who was smiling at that. Zeus. I joined the group, I want to make him pay for what he caused to my wife and daughters, I want to make him suffer for that disgrace he did to us. Tannen. This will not end well. Everyone present was worried about that and more because Issei was prepared to kill them if they bothered him. Michael. This can't be worse, right, that only worried everyone present even more. But that would only be the beginning, since in a mansion where Issei's ex is in a very dangerous state due to the last thing that happened at the reunion with their families, seeing Issei get engaged to Runia's had completely broken them, but that only released a sick feeling that was growing. Along with another grotesque thing in them since they discovered that their beloved Ash was not who they thought he was, but the most disgusting being there was, and that madness was directed towards one person in particular, Issei. Now they had no notion of what they were doing, they didn't care what he did to them or how he treated them, they just wanted to have him in their arms, and if necessary, they would go as far as possible to achieve it, even if it meant making him never see the world with them again. His eyes. Riaz. I don't care about anything anymore, we will have it even if we have to kill everyone he cares about, and if he doesn't want to come back then we will force him, he will surely do anything for them, so we will use that to make him accept us, or else he will see how they die in our hands, so girls who support me in this, want to have him back yes or no? They all agreed so they shouted in fury and prepared themselves for what they would do to obtain their most desired desire, even if he didn't want to. But all this was being seen through a tiny crack where a black-haired woman was staring at what these stupid women were about to do. I see that these scumbags will not leave my man alone, I will have to intervene because of what I see, I will teach them what happens if they touch him or even threaten him, I will not let them do anything against him, it's only mine. I won't let disgusting bags of meat think about being with the fufufu. She laughed while giving a twisted smile from the darkness where she saw everything that was happening. We will soon see each other, dirty mangies, and soon I will be with him again, my precious one. Issei, I want to face you again and this time I will be the one who completely dominates you fufufu. At that, a long tail decided to crack while she laughed in a terrifying way. Where Issei and the others were, he suddenly felt that something was approaching and it wasn't anything good, so he looked seriously at the sky and said, Issei. So they decided to ignore my warning. I will have to end this once and for all to be able to live with them peacefully. He said, looking at all his girls and friends where they were talking or playing together in the patio of the place. In that someone hugs him from behind, seeing Rumi who was staring at him. Rumi. What's wrong Issei? I see you're serious. Is something happening? Issei. It's okay Rumi, I just appreciate this amazing night while everyone is having fun downstairs. Rumi. You're the best person I have ever met Issei, you always worry about all of us even when we are not in danger. She said, resting her head on Issei's chest. Issei. Rumi, I always worry about you, you are the most precious thing I have, that's why I take care of you. He said hugging her, then proceeded to lift her face and kiss her. Rumi. Issei I love you very much. She said, reciprocating the kiss. Issei. I know darling. Rumi. Issei, can I ask you something? Please. Issei. Yes, tell me what you need Rumi. Rumi. I want to have your son, I want us to be completely one. Issei. Are you sure of that? Once we take that step there is no turning back you know. Rumi. I know, but we are already in our last year, so we have little left to finish and be adults, so our lives will take an important leap, and I want to take that leap with you. I want us both to form our destiny together and be able to be happy with the other girls. Issei. Then there is nothing to talk about, if one of my wives wants that then we should not disappoint her. He said while kissing her passionately and they headed inside the room while the others talked animatedly downstairs, although someone noticed the absence of both of them, so he went to see what they were doing. Issei carried Rumi towards the room without the others who were downstairs noticing him. When he reached the room he entered, and with his foot he closed the door while he went to the bed where he supported Rumi without taking his lips off them, they continued kissing. For a while each of them ran their hands over the other's body in a calm and sensual way, then they both separated and looked into each other's eyes. Issei. Are you sure of this Rumi? Once I start, don't turn back to this, you will be one with me, and it is very possible that you will get pregnant later, since no medication or pill will prevent it from happening. Rumi. Issei I already told you, I want to start a family with you and the others, that's why I want you to do it to me, so please go ahead. Time skip. The next morning you could see the brunette preparing his things to return home with the others, since they had to prepare to return to school, since he had 2 weeks left for it. While he was doing that his door was knocked where he gave the knock. Permission and 4 girls entered, these being the companions that he had saved in the mountain. Issei. Oh hello girls, what's happening? Urza. Well Issei, the thing is that the 4 of us after they told us everything about the supernatural and what happened to you felt the need to ask you something important if we can. Issei. And that would be. Leforia. Issei, how did you keep going despite everything? I know that thanks to Sakvara, you were able to love again, but that day when they betrayed you because you didn't face them or show your face to everyone. Akame. We know that they took away your power, but because when you had regained your strength plus the skills that Kurama taught you, you didn't go looking for an explanation as to why they did that to you. Stella. If you don't want to talk about it, we understand, but we just want to know why you didn't do anything against him. Issei. There are girls. He said sitting on the bed while looking at the ceiling. I don't deny that there was a moment when I was tempted to go and show them how strong I became, but I stopped to think about the things that always happened to me. That I let myself be seduced by my emotions. There I saw that doing that would only be making me the same trash as them, although I know that I should have taught them. I did not have the desire to look for problems with them. Now I only care about taking care of all the women who are with me, so that the same thing doesn't happen. I want to show them that I am the person they deserve and want, so I don't want to pick a fight with them. Urza. And if they want to fight, like what you said about them wanting to have you back in their hands like your exes. What would you do if that happens again or they try something against the girls who love you? Issei. Well, that's obvious, even though I don't want to have problems, I won't let them believe that they have any control over me again, and if they even try to do something to them, I will do what I hope to do to them, even though I know it is wrong, I will kill them. No matter who it is. Stella. And if they are your parents, you can do it if they are the ones who try something against you or theirs. The 4 looked at the brunette waiting for his response. Issei. As I told you, no matter who it is, I will teach them the consequences of their actions, even if they are the people who brought me into the world. They made their decision by pushing me away, and they must pay the consequences that come with those decisions, even if it means that I have to kill them for it. Akame. Are you sure you can do it? I tell you myself because when it comes to a member of your family, it is very difficult to do it, I know what it feels like that's why I tell you. Issei. They stopped being that way when Akane was thrown away. Now my family is my friends and loved ones, that's why I have to take care of them no matter what. He said smiling. The four of them looked at Issei's face, seeing that he was telling the truth, so they didn't say anything else and left, leaving the brunette there alone. Issei. Who would think they would ask me about that right now, but it was strange. I thought they were going to try something or tell me something else, but I think it was the answer they wanted to hear at least. I hope things get better from now on. I just want be happy with the people who really love me, he said, watching the dawn through the window, although within his conscience, a figure saw him proudly because of his words. At least one of my descendants maintains principles and values that I protected so much during my life. Soon we will see my great-great-grandson, and you will know the legacy that our blood hides. You will need it if they find a way to enter this plane. He said, disappearing into Issei's consciousness. Mexico Airport, flight to Kuo. Issei. Well, we are ready to return home. Kurama. Well, I want to try my fruits again, surely my garden has already grown. Leforia. Seriously, you don't need to come with us back, you can leave if you want with that magic you use. Sakura. Don't worry, we all want to try what it feels like to travel by plane, that's why we decided to accompany them. Sakura. Although I don't expect them to accompany us too. She said, pointing to 7 women being Quetzalcoatl, Tsunade, Esdeath and Miyamoto and their guardians. Quetzalcoatl. Dear, did you seriously think that I would let my man leave without me? He must take responsibility for what he did to me that night, how he stripped me of my purity without my consent and did not accept being with me. Issei began to sweat as he saw how the people passing by looked at them because of what she said. Tsunade. Stop pretending, you were the one who orchestrated all that so that he couldn't escape from you, and you included us in your plan too. Miyamoto. Well, I have no complaints about the result. Esdeath. Me neither. The men passing by looked at the brunette respectfully for having managed to sleep with those girls, which made Issei blush. Leisha. Well, leaving that aside, we must get on the plane before it takes off without us. Quetzalcoatl. Stop there, little girl, if we travel it will be with class and style. In front of you, a private jet appeared where everyone will travel together. Kateria. Good, now you got my attention, my friend. Issei. And that's how discretion went. My god, I don't want to stand out too much. At that, Quetzalcoatl holds him by his shoulders. Quetzalcoatl. Will everyone go up while Issei and I go to the private room to talk about certain private matters? No, not ah. He said while moving his hand seductively along her back and resting his chest on her. That sparked a fight between the girls, but it was resolved thanks to Kurama making Issei sit with him to practice his chakra control a little on the trip. Some time later we can see everyone at the entrance to the brunette's home, but when they were about to enter, Issei stopped at the doorknob, which confused everyone because of that. Sharon. Issei, what's happening? Issei. Someone was here. He immediately entered the house to check that there was nothing out of the ordinary, which upon confirming it made the others come in. He doesn't do anything out of place, but someone was here because of the slight scent there. Smith, but whoever it could be, anyone could have been, the leaders, the Legion or your exes. Jer. Then it could be anyone. Ruby. What will be done here? Issei. I don't know, but he didn't take anything, he was only here in the living room, the other rooms had no sign of a visitor. Mordred. Hey, there's a letter here on the table. He said, showing an envelope with a stamp on it. Kateria. That seal is from the Mau Lucifer Morningstar, I know it is for political letters. Issei. Then he was the one who was here. Kurama. We don't know, we will only know what they want by reading the letter. Rider. I don't like them knowing where we live. Chisato. Not even my rider, but knowing them they wouldn't let Issei be out of their sight after what happened. Alicia. This gives me a bad feeling, they don't want to let him go even after everything they did to him. Brunhild. This must be some kind of trick to get him to join them again. Issei. For now, let's settle in first and help our new family members settle in, then we'll see what they want from us. Yes. Everyone nodded and went to put away their belongings, leaving Issei and Kurama alone. Kurama. Do you think they'll try something again? Issei. I don't know, Kurama, but the answers are in this envelope. He said, looking at the letter. I hope they don't make me finish what I started that time, since this time I won't forgive them even if they ask me to. Kurama. Calm down, don't get carried away by your hatred, remember what that part of you told you before. Issei. I know, but it bothers me that they don't let me live in peace. He said, leaving the letter on the table while he went to his room to organize his things. Kurama looked at the envelope and followed Issei. Kurama mind. I hope nothing happens. Minutes later we see everyone sitting on the couches in the main room around Issei, who was holding the letter in his hand, who proceeded to open it and read it. Issei. Well, let's start. Issei Haidu, you are requested, like all your classmates, to a meeting that will be held in the underworld in 2 days, where important matters will be discussed about the recent events that took place between you and the factions. All this due to the recent influence of the Legion, which is why we will try to reach an agreement between both parties for a possible alliance between us and you to reach a collaboration. The meeting will take place in the place where we meet in case of important meetings. We await your confirmation of attendance between today or tomorrow. You don't understand these fuckers. I told them that I didn't care if they wanted me to return to their side. I am no longer an acquaintance of theirs, and if they don't want to understand it, I let them know once and for all, he said as he began to release his hatred through a purple aura, which surprised everyone until Roygun and Sharon put their hands on his shoulders, which made him get out of that situation. Hate state. Roygun. Don't worry, Issei, I know you don't like it, but remember that you count on all of us as friends and as family. Sharon. Issei, remember that we are all in this, and even more so when we are with you, we are your women, so you will always count on us in everything you do. Everyone nodded at that, giving him to understand that he would not be alone in this, which Issei greatly appreciated. Issei. Thank you guys, really thank you, then what will we do with them? Kurama. We should think more deeply about this, don't you think everyone paid attention to Kurama? Doesn't it seem strange that after what happened between Issei and Surziches, he was the one who asked you to meet to talk? Issei. Now that you mention it, it is a little strange considering the previous events we had, so possibly it is some trick or trap to catch me or eliminate me from their path. We should be careful when we are there in case they have something planned, and even more so because what his clan did to his branch of the family. Ren. And you can't find out what he has planned with Runia's. I mean, she may have some information being the new head of the family until you are together where you will become. Issei. No, I told her that I agreed to be with her, but I don't want to have anything to do with the underworld or her clan, so I won't take leadership from him, but I will support her in what she does as her husband. Besides, I don't think she knows about this because he cut ties with them after that meeting, so he surely won't know anything about them. Behind him someone appeared, which was noticed by Kurama, who laughed at what his guest would do. Rinia's. I don't know what Issei-chan said, hugging him from behind while rubbing her cheek with his. Her presence surprised everyone, but Issei, who didn't expect her to be there at that moment. Issei. Runia's, what are you doing here? Runia's. Can't I visit my fiancé and my mate sisters at their home? Issei. No, Runia's, I was just surprised to see you here. What's more, I'm surprised that you know where I live, since I don't remember telling you before. He said calmly, and the last thing in a semi-serious tone, which made some of the girls present horny because of that tone. Serious. These being Minamoto's escorts. Runia's. Well. Didn't you have something you wanted to ask me, perhaps? He said, smiling while deflecting the question. Issei. Well, let's put that aside now. Do you have any idea about the meeting they scheduled for us in 2 days in the underworld? Runia's. I don't know anything about that, in fact none of the clan was aware. What did they stipulate in the letter? Issei. They want all of us to be at the meeting to talk about the events between them and me and about the Legion, so they requested that we all be there, including my mates, which I don't like in the slightest. Runia's. I don't know the truth, but I don't know if it's safe to do that. Kurama. I said the same thing, but if we don't go it's more likely that they will be bothering us to do it. Sikvera. And what will we do, Issei? Issei. We will go, we will finish this once and for all, so we will not be intimidated. I am counting on you, Quetzalcoatl and Minamoto along with the others. The aforementioned. Of course, we are already part of your family, so we are in on this. Issei. Well, tomorrow we will go to the academy, and we will give the answer to one of Ria's or Sona's servants who is present, but we will not do it in the mansion, we will do it outside the city of Lilith. John. Very well thought out, Issei. If you have any plan against us, it will be even more difficult for you to do so while in the open field. Everyone looked at him, which made him nervous because of all the attention he had. Nora. Who are you and what did you do to our friend? John. Hey, that offends, I'm not a fool like you think. Ren. Not only that, you don't usually give good things when you speak, so we were very surprised that you thought that. John went to a corner depressed, babbling, while Purr comforted him under the jealous gaze of Nora and the graceful faces of the others. The next morning Issei and Velvet could be seen together at the entrance of the academy to deliver their message to the factions. Velvet. This place is very empty, don't you believe I, Issei? It's obvious, Velvet-san, that's because we're on winter vacation right now, so no one would be crazy enough to stay here, right? Velvet. True, you have a different schedule than us, so we differ in the seasons, but even so I detect 5 presences within the area in that abandoned part. He said, pointing to the occult club. Issei. Perfect, I thought Benia would be alone right now, I didn't expect there to be more people at the academy after what happened. Velvet. Don't worry, we will go and say our answer and leave afterwards without any mishap, so we won't see them for long. Issei. I hope it is like that. Both proceeded to enter the school grounds, which was noticed by the 5 presences in the place, which surprised them when they noticed one of the subjects, so they waited for them at the occult club, plus a person who wanted to see the brunette. Lab. Minutes later we see Issei and Velvet in front of the club, so that both of them proceeded to enter, seeing the 5 people, these being Benya and Saji from the student council and Kiba, Gasper and Asia from the occult club. It must be said that Asia, upon seeing the brunette, was her gaze lit up, thinking that he came to talk to her, but for Issei, it was not like that since he did not like that expression directed at him, so he looked at her sharply, giving her to understand that he did not come to talk to her. Saji. What are you doing here? You have no reason to be in this place. He said, annoyed by seeing him. Benya. Saji, calm down, I don't want any fight, you understand. Saji. TSK. Issei. I'm not here to talk to you, I came to tell you to tell the leaders that we will attend the meeting they called us, but we will not do it in the mansion, but outside the city of Lilith, and if they do not accept it, then we will not even go. To her. Kiba. You think we will accept your demands after what you did? You should go without anything else to say. Issei. I see that you didn't learn your lesson, fuckface, do you want me to remind you again? He said, seeing him from the corner of his eye as he began to release his aura. Benya. Both of you calm down. Issei. Tell them my conditions for our presence and give us your answer, that's all I came for. Without further ado we leave. They both turned to leave but were stopped by Asia. Asia. Wait, Issei-san, can we talk please? I need to tell you something important. Issei. I don't want to know anything about you, there is no longer any relationship between us, so I have nothing for which I should listen to you, did you understand? Or perhaps my words were not clear to you the last time we spoke. Asia. But I really need to talk to you, Issei-san, it's about what we did to you, we didn't want to hurt you that time, we were influenced by him to do the harm we did to you. Issei. Understand it once and for all, you did that because you wanted to do it, Rizavam only gave you one more reason to do it, but you had the final decision, that's why you left me aside, even my supposed parents abandoned me, so no. You come telling me that it wasn't your intention. Asia. But seriously, we are very sorry for what we did to you, even your parents want you to return to our side to be a united and happy family again. Issei. United, happy, seriously, do you think I'll fall for that shit again? You got down from me when I was no longer useful to you and now you want us to go back to being like before, you only want me to come back to help you get through what they are suffering, and when they do they will get rid of me again like nothing. Asia. But. Issei. No witch, but you didn't make decisions, so you must abstain from the consequences that come with said actions, so I won't return to you, even if my life depended on it, so give my conditions to the leaders and don't bother me again. He said, turning around, wanting to get out of there before he ended up exploding right there. Asia started to cry when she saw that he wouldn't even give her the opportunity to speak or explain herself, but then Saji was the one to stop him. Benya. Saji, stop, I don't want problems. But he didn't listen to him, so at that moment he threw a punch at Issei's head, who instinctively caught him with his energy tails and looked at him in an annoyed way, so he turned around and buried his fist in his stomach, which made him. Saji squirmed, but Issei threw him forward, where he fell at Benya's feet. Kiba, seeing that, was about to attack until Benya stopped him. Benya. Kiba, stop, Saji attacked him first, so it was his fault, and Issei, we understand your conditions, so we will tell the leaders, and we will give you an answer later, so if that was all you can leave the place now, Issei. Finally, someone who thinks coldly, he didn't want to send them all to the hospital because of the way they acted. Velvet. Let's go, Issei, we don't have to keep the others waiting. Both, under the gaze of everyone, left the place, leaving the room in silence, which was broken by Asia's sobbing, who was very upset because of what Issei told her, but things were not improving in her mind, since one more part of she suffered a fracture which would have repercussions in the future. Moments later, Benya left with the others to tell them about Issei's demands for her presence at tomorrow's meeting, but things were not very well received, but due to how careful Issei is due to his previous actions, they had to give him that request. To go to the place. So a notification was sent to him with Benya confirming his demands, which was accepted, and Issei gave his approval in everything they were preparing to go, and in case anything unexpected happened in the place. While in another place, Victor and the professor were seen in front of the generals and the 4 friends ready for the plan to capture the brunette. Victor. And Professor, are you sure that the plan to capture him will work? Professor. You have nothing to worry about. I made sure it didn't have any faults like the last time. Victor. And with the baits, they won't be able to escape our control. Professor X. That device is safe, so they will not be able to escape any inconvenience, so it is safe to use them in the plan. Victor. Perfect, now we can have it in our hands, we can finally have one of the descendants of that person who has his latent power within him for our plans. Professor X. And how do you know that he is a descendant of that person, and how did you know that he has his power within him if that is the case? Victor. Do you think that the previous capture attempt had no benefits? I was able to see that he has the remains of that person's energy when analyzing the videos of their fight, so I am sure that he is the one. Professor X. And what will happen to his current classmates? From what we know, they will be with him there, so they will not pose any problem to us if they help him. Victor. Don't worry, I'm counting on some specific people to act to take care of them while we capture him, and with his mate, it's very certain that he won't be able to help him, since he will be with his woman to keep them safe, so that he doesn't get lost in his life again. Rage. Professor. So you say that they acted against their wives at that time, it is not left to chance. Victor. I don't think so, I trust that it will happen because of my little pawn's words, so there is nothing to worry about. Now we must prepare for tomorrow and show everyone that not only they can form alliances, he said, seeing some creatures outside their walls eating the remains of the dead, while a figure was in front of them watching their pets eat. And soldiers in a frantic manner. Well, my little ones, feed yourselves to strengthen yourself, there is still a long way to go before you can be ready, but when you are ready they will know what desperation and fear means, hahaha. He said, laughing while caressing one of the creatures that was next to him, being different from the others, implying that he was their sub-alpha. Sometimes you don't know what you have until you lose it, it can be for various reasons, hate, power, lust among others, but everything has the same destiny, hurting the person who is next to you. That's why they say that love, it can be beautiful as well as dangerous. If you know how to differentiate it, you will see that there are two types, the unconditional one, where both parties love each other purely, and the interested one, where there are benefits involved, but in either case the damage of losing it is horrible, so it is always, it says that love wherever you see it is deadly. Issei, 2 years after the Great Parallel War. Father, husband, hero for his wives and monster for his enemies. Current day, 8 AM, day of the meeting with the factions. Everyone was waiting for the time for the meeting, the atmosphere was tense, which could be cut with the slightest distraction. Issei was staring at the clock on the wall, waiting for the time, as he thought about what could happen today, and what he would have to do. What to do if it happened, even though he hated his former comrades and wanted to repay them for all the pain they caused him. On the other hand, another part of him did not want it, he wanted to stay and live peacefully and happily with his partners, but he knew that if it did not solve this once and for all, could not fulfill the goal of starting a family with his wives and friends, so he had to end this now. On the other hand, his friends were anxious, they knew that this was something that had to happen, so that his friends and colleagues could be at peace with their partners, so they were ready to do anything for him. And what can we say about their current partners? Each of them was in a different way. Others were calm since they thought that nothing bad would happen. Others were nervous about what could happen to the brunette, and the rest were serious. They knew that despite it being just a meeting, it is possible that his exes were there, so if they do not accept that he no longer belongs to them, they would make it clear to him once and for all. Kurama. Issei, can you stop looking at the clock with that look? It seems like it was a gun duel from the look you sent it. John. You think that too? I'm already starting to get chills because of the atmosphere, bro. It seems like something bad is going to happen. Issei. Sorry, I just feel like something will happen today. Chisato. Don't worry, if something happens, we'll all be in this together. Issei. Thank you, really thank you very much for that, guys. Minutes later the clock marked the agreed time, so everyone got up and transported themselves to the outskirts of the city of Lilith, but Quetzalcoatl, the new members were disguised so that their identities would not be discovered, as well as momentarily sealed their auras, so that their appearance it was a surprise in case things turned ugly. While in the underworld things were the same, but due to one person, information about the meeting with Issei was leaked, so the entire underworld and supernatural world was waiting for it. They hoped that this time the hero would return to them to solve their problems and leave the things that happened in the past. While in a different place, Victor's troops were stationed waiting for his orders, and the remaining commanders as well, although the 4 girls were empty, as if their soul was not present in them, being just simple empty shells. Some time later we can see how a whirlpool formed outside the capital of Lilith, from which Issei emerged along with its other companions, which was noticed by all the inhabitants since Issei did not suppress his power, which alerted the leaders. In a matter of seconds they appeared in front of the city where they saw Issei and went like this, which was imitated by the brunette and his group. As they approached behind the leaders, a magic circle appeared from which Riaz and Sona emerged along with their entourage. And the other girls, except Office, Scarlet and the matriarchs, who were happy when they saw Issei, but their smile faded when they saw that he was accompanied by Sikvera and the others at his side, so they walked like that while they were behind him. Leaders being Ajuka, Falbium, Azazel, Barakiel, Michael, Auden, Tannen and Ra. Seeing Riaz and the others, Issei got upset but decided to calm down and finish the matter he had here. Issei. Well, here I am, tell me quickly what you have to say, I want to get out of here once and for all. Auden. You don't need to be rude, we don't plan to do anything to you, we just want to give you a proposal. Issei. Yes, the last time they summoned me, several people ended up in body bags for trying to give me orders, so you better watch your words, since you will suffer the same consequences, so don't think of doing anything that would force me to eliminate you in one go. Time. Rias. Issei, can we talk please? I know you don't want to listen to us, but we need to talk, okay? Issei. Listen to me, I didn't come so that you guys are bothering me, so if you don't want to end up hurt like mine, it would be better if you don't speak to me. I only came because I want to make it clear that I am no longer your ally, or something like that. Mio. But partner Issei. I'm not your partner, Red Dragon, it's better that you don't finish that word if you don't want to end up worse than the last time. He said while looking at the leaders. Well talk, why did you ask me and why isn't her idiot brother here present? If he was the one who sent the statement. Ajuka. Wait, we are the ones who requested you, he had nothing to do with this. Azazel. No, I don't like this, he interfered with the messenger and sent his letter, I wanted him to come so he could take care of him. Issei. You better not be playing with me, I'm not in the mood for your jokes. Ra. Kid, it's a trap, we have nothing to do with this. Issei. Sons of a bitch, I knew I couldn't trust you. At that point he retreats along with his partners and friends, with the intention of leaving there, but before he could use his kamui, a dome surrounded the city and its outskirts, leaving them locked up without power. Escape from there. Damn, they caught us, Kurama, stay with them and take care of them in case something happens. He said to Kurama, who was holding Sakura's shoulder. And you knew that I could not trust, this was all a trick to eliminate me, no. He said, releasing his power erratically. Tannen. Calm down brat, we have nothing to do with that. Michael. He's right Issei, we're not in this. Issei. I don't give a shit, you were the one who had to control that insane and that gang of prostitutes, you just had to prevent them from bothering me, that's just that you had to do. Brachial. Wait, seriously, we didn't know anything about this, we were just wanting to talk to you to solve the problems between us. Issei. And so, they just had to leave me alone and not bother me and I would have nothing to do with their problems, but they didn't want to stop, now they want to talk to me, they will surely ask me to join you again and to realize that nothing that happened during these months happened, and all because they don't want to admit that all this is due to their greed, so I clarify to them right here, I'm no longer interested in your pathetic lives, so leave me alone now my women and friends or else I'll take care of all of you myself, and I don't want to see any of these bitches near me or my partners again or else this time I'm going to kill them, so if you don't want to see them dead take them away from me. Keno. But Issei. Issei. I already warned you Brachial, keep her away from me, or I will not be responsible for what happens to her, this is my last warning to you, stay away from my life. At that he jumps back, dodging a combined attack from Zeus and Surziches. Issei. And you guys are getting tired, it wasn't clear to you what happened to you last time. Runias. Surziches, stop right now, what do you think you're doing? Do you want to continue causing problems? Right now I want you to stop all this and get us out of this dome. Surziches. Oh Miss Gremory, because you should listen to you, as I remember I no longer belong to your family, so I can do whatever I want. So don't get involved, this is not with you, but with the one who takes away everything in my life. Runias. But what do you think you're doing? You're no match for him even if you were with more people. You think you'll have a chance against him, so stop it please, I don't want him to have to stop you once and for all. Even though you don't have my last name, you're still my grandson, so stop this. Surziches. TCH. Annoying. He said, throwing a sphere of destruction towards Runias, who was surprised by that. But before it hit Issei launched an attack that deflected the other, saving her. At that point he appears in front of Surziches and grabs him by the face. Issei. Son of a bitch, what do you think you tried to do to her? He said angrily as she slammed Surziches to the ground. You think I'll let you get out of this now that you tried to hurt one of my partners? He said while they repeatedly hit him in the face. I'm already sick of all of you, your whims of him, your attempt to get him to return, and everything. He said as she lifted him by the head and plunged her fist into his stomach, causing him to spit out blood. This is the last time you try something like this was your last idiotic thing you do against me. He said as he pierced his stomach with one blow which shocked the majority who were watching them. This is your last offense, oh my so die. When Issei was about to give him the last blow, ripping off his head, a bolt of lightning sent him flying, causing Surziches to fall to the ground and save himself. Zeus. Look how I'm leaving you for not being attentive, idiot, here, take this tear and heal yourself because it won't do anything to him, it will only entertain him for a moment. He said, giving a phoenix tear to Surziches so that he can recover. Surziches. He caught me off guard, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to leave me in that state. Zeus. Then pay attention, we must finish him off for what he did to us. A little far from where Issei hit, an increase in power was felt, so suddenly an explosion sent the rubble flying, and Issei was seen upset, and he went out to finish them off. Then he attacks Zeus who couldn't dodge him, so Issei sends him flying with a double kick. But in that he dodges a blow from Surzich's, where in response he hits his neck, which makes him fall to the ground, where before he gets up he steps on his back, sinking him into the ground while he screamed in pain. But Issei continued stepping on his back, which could be heard breaking his vertebrae and ribs with every stomp he gave him when he caught a spear that was aimed at his head, being Zeus's, who tried to stab it so that he would take it out of his hands and stab it into his shoulder, which made him scream, to be silenced by a Rasengan that Issei gave him in his chest, which made him fly towards the front, and with Issei's spear, he stuck it in Surzich's back while he moved it, making him scream in agony. Issei. They could have avoided all this if he hadn't provoked me, now they just suffer the consequences of their actions. But before he could give them the final blow, he avoided an attack that came from behind him, so as soon as he saw it, he looked at who was responsible, seeing that it was none other than Rias. Rias. Issei, please stop, don't force me to hurt you. Issei. So you're finally getting into this, you redhead slut, I knew I should have taken care of all of you when I could. Sona. Don't worry, Issei, because we won't settle all this calmly by talking, in fact we can even try to be united again. Ingvald. Please Issei-sama, go back to being the same as before, we swear that we will not repeat the same mistake if you trust us. The others were the same, they all said that if he came back things would be different this time, and that they would accept whatever he told them. But Issei got tired of everything they said, this was the last time he allowed them to bother him with that again, so he gathered his power in his hand, or pointed it at his exes to eliminate them once and for all, which scared them. All of them, but before he eliminated them a portal appeared below him while strange hands took him through the portal, scaring everyone present because of it. Sikvara. Issei. She screamed scared when she saw that her husband was absorbed by the portal like his other lovers and friends. Issei. Damn it, Kurama, take care of them until I return. He said as he disappeared from next to the portal. At that point, their partners wanted to go to where Issei and the portal were, but before moving forward they were attacked by Rias and company, so they had to block it. Rias. Damn it, because of you Issei despises all of us, he even was about to kill us for you. Sikvara. Seriously, you continue with that stupidity, just when he disappeared, he is no longer yours, you changed him, so leave him alone with us since we are the only one who really love him. In that moment, between the exes and their current partners, they began to throw insults at each other, and later began to attack each other to see who would stay with the brunette. While in a separate dimension Issei appeared from the portal where he falls to the ground. Issei. Show yourself at once. He said, trying to find out who brought him there, but in that moment he dodges a cut on his back, jumping to the front where he turns and sees. Wait, you are. In front of him was 2B in his battle suit wielding the sword that tried to cut him. 2B, what are you doing, he said while dodging their attacks, but then he received a blow in the side, which sent him grabbing a pile of rocks. When he stood up he saw the others in front of him. But he could see that they were different, something about them was not normal. Girls, what happens to you? It's me, Issei, 2B, 2A, Saber and Maria, they don't recognize me. Just then Victor appears above them and looks at the brunette. Victor. Who? Don't worry, they can't hear you, they are under my control, so they will do what they are told, haha. Issei. Who damn you are and why you do that to them? Victor. Who? Where are my manners? I am Victor Duriel, you can say that I am a former collaborator of Rizavam and his father, and regarding them I only made them complete their task for which they were created. Issei. Release them right now. Victor. I'm sorry but I can't do that until you are captured, so have fun. He said, disappearing from the place quickly. Issei. Girls, I know you can hear me, it's me, Issei. But that didn't help since he received more attacks from them, so he had to defend himself from them, but he noticed that there were more presences in the place from what he saw the other members of the group. Legion of survivors who approached the four friends. This has to be a bad joke. At that, everyone gets into a fighting pose in that strange place. What will Issei do with the four girls? Will he be able to save them while fighting against them and the others? What will Sikvara and the others do against Rias and the others? That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.